completely colonized by that. And then, of course, the next step is the global village, the post-humanists, who will tell you you are what we say you are, no different than high school and all the other malarkey you have to go through. Well, you are literally being told that by somebody who, by the way, doesn't have the faintest idea who he is. That's a paradox. I always find that remarkable. But those myriad demands never stop. And I think if you try to fight those myriad demands, you might be wasting your time. So I think that ask the question how much, realize that it's happening a lot, try to defend against it, certainly, but don't put the entire focus there. The other focus is something mysterious is going on in ourselves behind all of that palaver. And that is that as you're changing constantly to all these demands, there's a you going through those changes that remains constant. Not true of psychotic people, who that law does not apply, or applies less. But talking about semi-normal people, if not abnormal people, I mean that in a textbook context, that person has an I that remains constant even through that change, implying that there's more than just the being that's changing. Right? Let's just leave it at that for now. And in that Eigenwelt, that is where the real focus of a person should be, okay? Because you have almost no effect, except a topical one on the Umwelt. You have a problematic and almost entirely destructive relationship in the Umwelt and the Midwelt. But where your main focus is, and where the full weight of your responsibility, your free will and your choice, your self-esteem, and also of your neurosis will be, is in the inner world. Neurosis meaning if you don't attend to it, or you attend to it incorrectly, then it'll be a aberrant or abnormal attention that you're giving yourself. And we'll look at that as we proceed as well. But when you talk about free will and choice, you know, it's never ever entered my head that I don't identify with political action. I've never done that. When people say the word responsibility, free will, choice, self-esteem, and all this, it's the Eigenwelt that I'm thinking about. All that other stuff is some other kind of comedy that goes by the name of, well, free choice, free will. Number 6. So again, just to emphasize something brilliant again about the Eigenwelt, one could spend hours on just these 3 concepts not interlocked. We have so little time. But one important thing to bring out is that we not only have existence, we not only have that continual self that seems to be going through the experiences but yet remaining sovereign, shall we say. We are aware that we're doing it. We have awareness of what is happening. We're the one registering those changes. We're almost like a journal that's being written. In fact, Nietzsche made a point that all his life he felt that he was a pen being written by the will to power, or he felt that something was moving through him, that he was just a vessel for this other voice. And in many ways you could say that about a lot of people. And of course, we have that awareness, but here's even another incredibly amazing thing. We also have the free choice to turn it off. Now, that's good news and bad news. It means you actually have a thing called choice, but you could also misuse it. So, I'm glad there we got the choice, but too many of the people go, oh, okay, I don't want to be aware. I'm being amused and entertained. Can we do that later? Yeah. While they hurry to their graves as if they want to get there. Our whole society is rushing for it. 70 summers, 28,000 days, and they're running, we are running like madmen as if we're desperate to get there. I can't explain it. What this really means on a more mystical note is that man is the only being capable of transcendence. He stands outside the world, but is also in that world. Right? In other words, he nucleates the opposites. He nucleates duality. And he nucleates time. What this means on a philosophical note is that he is both the subject and the object. Right? Subject just means the self, the viewer. And object is anything else in the world that you're looking at, this computer, this table, and the people around me are objects in psychological parlance. However, that perceiver, the subject, can also view his own body and think about himself. So he himself is an object of his own consciousness. Well, wait a minute. I thought there was duality. But if I can look at myself as an object, but I'm also the subject, then I've just nucleated the total illusion that there is such a thing as a subject-object dichotomy. And believe me, this has caused a lot of problems in the hundreds of years of philosophy. People have really been driving themselves crazy over that point. Again, we can't is this concept of psychological or psychic time. That is not necessarily needs to be chained to the historical and the worldly time of getting up and going to work and all of these kinds of concepts. And the calendar, as we said, and the clock. You have an imagination. Now remember, in the Umwelt, that included, what did we say? Nature. So that means animals. That's where animals differ from us. Because animals are chained to the Umwelt. They cannot change of their own free will. Their patterning, their chronologies, and so on, they're chained to that. We are not. We're actually separate from that. It's one of the unique things that makes us a being, is that we have another set of time. That whole concept of even moods changing your sense of time. She's late. Minutes seem like hours, right? Hey, we just had the greatest vacation. Shit, it went by really quick. I wish it would last longer. Or that great weekend went by fast. Well, wait a minute. Our moods affect time. It's just one anecdote showing you that time is different for the psyche of a human being than it is for history and for nature. Meaning you have power over it. And we'll look at that a little bit better. In fact, in my mystery school stuff where we deal with divination, that is central to the whole thing. For anyone who has a, sort of wonder about that. What we're talking about here is part of it. Numerology, tarot, divination, astrology. This concept of your inner time is the whole nucleus of it. That's what we work with. That's what those arts are all about, is to work with that and improve that concept and your awareness of this inner chronology, this inner time, to free you from the enslavement of the other. But of course, what does this got to do with Big Brother and post-humanism, right? This talk is to try and introduce ourselves to some of the things that they know that we don't, or some of the tools that they're working with. And this brings up a very important area, which is mostly the province, granted, of psychologists, but we need to just grab their teachings and we need to become aware of it. We need to take some of that fantastic stuff they've been looking at and put it in, as I said, a new context, shift it around, look at it from a different angle. This question of anxiety becomes very important to how Big Brother's control works. Because it turns out that there's actually two kinds of anxiety. There's the anxiety of the self, the Eigenwelt, and there's the conflict that comes about when you try to interact with the Mitwelt, with other people. That creates stress, creates conflict, we know that. And then there's the inner one as well. Two kinds of conflict. In other words, we have anxiety from maintaining our selfhood and from not being overwhelmed by the other. Okay? So there's a lot of stress when you have that defensiveness of going, enough already. You know, I want to listen to Motorhead, Mother, bugger off. When we have all that resistance, there's a great deal of stress in being ourselves and defending from being overwhelmed by the tribe and the hive mentality. However, the second kind is the kind of, I want to be accepted by the Mitwelt. I'm just not a full person until I'm adored by everybody and they feel good about me, right? So then we have anxiety from another side. Two important, totally distinct, unmarried forms of anxiety. One you could call neurotic. The one where you're not adjusting enough and you're not smart enough and cute enough and all of that. That is the neurotic form of anxiety, which is completely the bottom line when it comes to psychologists. That's the one they work with every day. And the existential psychologists work with the other one. The anxiety that comes when your selfhood is being overwhelmed. But that first kind of anxiety is actually, remember we said that there's something positive about anxiety? Legitimate anxiety? Let's explain that now. The anxiety of being born brought you into this life, so you can't unplug from that anxiety. Alright, that means that there's a positive kind of anxiety. It attends births and deaths. Meaning, so what does that mean on an existential level? It means that what it means is you don't only experience one death. There's another lie. You experience countless lives of death. We know them as rites of passage. And that rite of passage, as all the ancients knew, is literally a movement from a life to a death, and then from a death to a new life. You do it constantly. And anxiety is attendant at that moment, because you've just died. And there should be anxiety with death. There always will be anxiety with death. And it's right that there is anxiety with death experience. This must be absolutely fundamentally grasped. You must make this your lover. Because she's there with every birth and death. So the people who want to push it away from you and drug the shit out of you, they're up to something, and we're going to be looking at what they're doing. Because in those moments of great agony and ecstasy, annihilation. And what's really happening, of course, we're not obviously talking physical death. To make it more clear, it's a death in the way of seeing. The only way you can really explain it in the English language is a way of seeing, is dying. It's either going to become really narrow, like most people's are, or suddenly it's something else. The gentleman outside was talking to me about this marvelous experience he had. Just one day, just like the guy in Network, it's filled with the prana, filled with the bioenergy. So the way of seeing can narrow, it can widen, and it will do it, both of them, constantly. It's not going to be one or the other. It's going to be both interlocking all the way through your life. And the anxiety that walks with that attends that, is never to be sedated.